Now, yo, how's it going, y'all? This is Theo and Derek. We're the Heels of Time, running at you with part two. Hopefully, you guys saw part one, but if you didn't, you're excused. And yeah, we started a little late, and we're back to our late status. It happens. Had a little a baby thing, not from me, from Derek, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta take care of this real quick." If y'all catch my drift. So, yeah, it's all good though. Little dude's doing well, correct, Derek?
Just fine, in fact. He's probably feeding as we speak.
Get that food. So,
or sleeping or playing.
Yeah, you know how it is. Well, maybe for some folks. So anyway, this is part two. Part one, if you missed it, we're just extending this longer episode into two. So we're going through the Forsaken, and not one for one per se with the Greek pantheon, but we've been noticing some patterns and some potential similarities between some of the Forsaken and some of the Greek gods. They have a lot of the bad things in common, let's put it that way. Along with some of the good stuff. Yes, you could say Forsaken can be kind of good sometimes. Sometimes-ish. So, we're playing a little game. So Derek describes the Forsaken. I try to match him up with an Olympian. And then we debate it, potentially, depending on our viewpoints and see how it goes. So far, I think I did pretty well. And by the way, this was not rehearsed. So this is like pop quiz for me. So if people have different feelings or different opinions, we'd love to hear them. But you probably should like and subscribe to us first, of course. But away with the game, Derek. Knock it out. Who's the next one on the list?
Yes, sir. I'm just making sure that I pick up where we left off. I might have...
Skipped one?
No, I might... I might not be looking at the same list.
So, it's alright, me too. It's all good.
Bear with me. Bear with me just a second. Here we go. This should be right. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we ended there. Okay, yeah. Here we go. I think at least an aspect of this one. I'm gonna add to this. Okay, I'm gonna give a layman's guess,
and then son of a gun. All right,
you're gonna tell me I'm wrong, probably, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. You've been pretty knocking on, pretty solid with what I throw down.
We'll see.
Okay.
So this next Forsaken is Asmodean. Asmodean was the only Forsaken to, arguably successfully be captured by Rand for a good period of time. And he actually got information out of him, let's say. So he kind of learned how to channel from Asmodean. And not all of his crazy stuff, but literally the basics, like how to always grab for it and have it be there when he needs it, how to let go when he's done with it, how to only get a safe amount of it at a time, how to differentiate between the 5 powers of earth, fire, wind, water, and spirit. Like the fire weave has a hue of red, for example, and you can eventually see that, which reminds me of how babies eventually start to differentiate colors. So anyhow, he also in the Age of Legends, the Old Age, was a musician and played a harp. He disguises himself as a bard in the Common Era. And he really just wanted to sell his soul to live forever so he could make music forever. So, but he's also a genius, and he will look out for himself. And to do that, he seeks power. So he's not your ideal perfect, like, I just want to be a musician. No, not quite. So he's the most reserved of the Forsaken. I mean, he'll kill, and he has no qualms with it, but only when it's needed. So if he doesn't need to kill someone, he won't.
He's a Forsaken with a conscience. Ish.
It's almost a conscience. I'd call it like a pre-conscience. Like, he's close. And you could argue that once Rand severs him from his connection to the Dark One, he might actually start developing a conscience.
Mm-hmm.
So, my guess would be the great Hermes, or Hermes for us Americans. Um, I would say, well, didn't he invent the lyre? Unless I'm getting that backwards. So maybe it's him. So that's my layman's guess. So I'm gonna throw it to you.
Interesting. That's a good one.
Oh, thanks.
I could see it. I could see it. Thing is,
Here we go.
Well, no, is he? So Asmodean is kind of a weird one, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
So he's kind of like all over the place. He's not like murder, death, zap you dead. He's not beat your chest, rip
Right.
it, and I'm like, psh, super muscles, and I'm gonna go murder you and rip your throat out.
Right.
He's not. I would say he's not cunning because that sounds kind of weird, but he's not. Oh, you're a very cool dude. Stab in the back either. He's not.
No, I agree.
Covert. So, in terms of the musicality, on point.
Mm-hmm.
But hear me out. I had two guesses for him. Hermes was not one of them, by the way.
No, I figured you'd have something else.
Although the musician stuff is on point. So I'm gonna give you the one that probably people be like, yeah, bro, I can understand this, which would be Apollo. So, like, even though Hermes created the lyre,
right?
Apollo was the one that played it.
Oh,
They flipped, because like Hermes and Apollo were bros, like actual bros, but actually like homies too.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, as much as Apollo hated him at first because he was a young kid, played some tricks on him. That's a different episode. Click, click. And so we won't get into that part. They kind of flipped. So Apollo, super wise. I wouldn't say teacher-esque, but he, like Athena, was like knowledgeable. Probably one of the strongest gods, though. So that's why I'm kind of like, that's not Asmodean, though. So I would actually put, if you said like pantheon of 12-ish, with that little exclamation point quotation, Zeus was at the top.
Right.
I would say if you're going to put a scale of 1 to 12, he's number 12, right? As in like the top big dog.
Right.
Beast mode. Probably 11.5 and 11 would be Apollo Athena. Poseidon's up there, so is her Hades. But Apollo's he was worshipped a ton. So was Athena, but he was like the big guy. So that's why I'm a little hesitant on that. Now he was wise. He was learned, taught people, was very cool.
Well,
again, murderous.
Can I practice some French?
French?
Au contraire, mon ami.
All right, go. All right.
Or even mon frere.
What you thinking?
So, in the Shadow Rising, Asmodean and Rand, they grapple for the Chaldan Call or something. I forget the pronunciation. But this is an access key to literally the most powerful male sangreal in existence.
Right.
Which amplifies your power to arguably
infinite level. Almost.
Infinite level,
yeah.
And then arguably like half of whatever the Dark One has. Because Lanfear says together there's a female version.
Right.
So she's together, if we combine both of them, we can probably take out the Dark One. But not apart. You see what my logic is? So so
maybe I was totally right then. He is Apollo.
Well, listen. So Rand and him both had this at the same time. Ergo, their powers were equal. Ergo, our previous episode, where Rand is somewhat of an Apollo figure.
Right. So that'd be actually melding kind of the two together, the same person.
Yeah, they're like passing off the baton.
Right.
I was Apollo in the last age.
Now you are.
Now you are kind of thing. I kind of like that. Like,
So the other one, which
yeah, the
so
other
okay,
one.
so hey, maybe I was right, and I forgot about that part. So thank you. So therefore, like I said, pop quiz time. You're gonna
Yeah.
shake you with some of this shit. So the other one, Hephaestus.
I like that one a lot.
So is he powerful? Of course, because he's a god. Scale of 1 to 12. Power scheme, worship, kind of lower on the scale. Wife was Aphrodite, basically hooked up with Ares, and he's like, I hate you guys, here's a trap. It is what it is, man. Let me just get back to work. So what did he work? He worked the smiths.
Okay.
He was a craftsman. He
Right.
did metalworking,
Mm-hmm.
stonemasonry, fire, the actual
I get
fire,
what you're saying now. Oh, I see.
sculpture.
So, like, all the elements kind of, okay, that's cool.
Yes,
Very
because
cool.
what do you have to do with metalworking? You got to cool it down. Water, right?
Oh,
Got to
yeah,
heat it
that's-
up.
Mm,
Earth, fire, wind, water, fire.
Put a little spirit in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very
So
cool.
I'm like, interesting. Flip side, was he much of a teacher? No. He was basically like the cursed god, but he was one that made all the weaponry for the gods. He was the man. So, like I said, he's a little more of a stretch. I mean, his animal homie was a donkey. Not super awesome in terms of like animal hypeness, but sturdy, solid, always there, stubborn. I mean, it all makes sense for him. So, yeah. And in terms of like giving, and in terms of like, could he be murderous? Sure. But was he like more chill? Yes. So, yeah, maybe. I like Apollo more, but this one
So-
was a little more of a stretch.
Yeah, no, I get you, but here are two facts that may or may not help you out.
Mm-hmm.
One is that in the last stage, he feels like he never got the credit he deserved for being the best composer.
Yep, Hephaestus would be on that level.
And then the other thing that's kind of Hephaestus that I don't think you mentioned, doesn't he have some kind of deformity or
Yes.
injury?
Yes, he's essentially crippled for a god, but yes.
And it usually, specifically, it's depicted as like one of his legs or both of his legs.
Yeah.
It might be something else, but that's usually how it's depicted. Am I correct? And
Yep.
Is that fair? Yeah. Okay. So check this out, right? Asmodean being captured by Rand was made lame.
Right.
He couldn't go anywhere.
Yep.
So he's kind of stuck there. So pardon me. So yeah, I think that fits. Actually both. But I really like the Apollo connection. Very much so. Because if you think about it, Rand is the only other character to hold that access key in the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes Asmodean technically the second most powerful channeler next to Rand, who had the thing.
Right.
Anyway, so anything else to say on the topic? Or are you ready for the next one?
I think we're ready. So I think Asmodean, more
Yeah.
Apollo than Hephaestus.
Sure.
You could maybe even throw a little Athena in there, but I don't think her. I think it's more Apollo than anything else.
All right. So we're gonna say
That's me.
Apollo Hephaestus, and maybe a little Athena. Very cool. This next one, let me see. We don't have much information about this character, but let's see what I can say right off the bat before. Right. I honestly, I'm making sure I don't mix this guy up because they're two Forsaken that don't really get a lot of screen time. Um,
All right, go for it, bro.
yeah. All right. Yep. Okay. Right. So this guy's very interesting. Um, so Balthamel,
Mm.
we hardly know anything about this guy at all, other than he was a historian in the Age of Legends. And that's it. So when we see him first, this might be telling in some kind of way. Um, we see that he is like a corpse-like appearance. His flesh is like rotting away, and he says this is because when he was sealed away, he was the last one to be sealed away. So he was like on the outside of the bore, so time was still passing by where he was. So he's like, you know, looks pretty gross. So what's interesting, and I'll be honest, audience, I almost got confused with Agenor, which they're in the same scene together and they're similarly described. I just want to make sure I didn't mess this up. So after Balthamel was killed by basically a treant, the Green Man, like turned him into nature, like literally like flowers and stuff just started popping out of him and stuff, and he died in a terrible way. Uh, he is reincarnated by the Dark One. Uh, and this is what's weird. His body is now a woman's body, but he still has his male soul, for lack of a better word, like his male faculties and memories and how he perceives the world are still there. So, and he still channels the male half of the source. He doesn't channel the female half. And his new name is Arengar. Or, you know, let me see. And Arengar ends up, this is the last twist, going in the guise of a female maid, a woman maid, Halima Saranoff. And he is in a woman's body at this point. So, and since they can't detect men channeling, you know, there's not really, you know, much they can do about the situation. So, in this new body, he lives all the way to the last battle where he's finally struck dead by, I believe, a group of Aes Sedai. So, yeah. So that's a weird story, but actually kind of fitting in Greek mythology, if you want to be honest. It may not work for one of the Olympian gods, though. So, what do you say?
Man. So, initially, I think I was like, oh, okay, I think I got this one. And then I remembered the rebirth stuff. So, my initial, like, snap point was Hades.
Yeah.
In terms of knowledge, not necessarily like a historian per se, but one who just the knowledge of the earth and of the ages and of course of the underworld. He would have had access to like all the knowledges, right?
Yes.
So I was like, okay, that aspect makes sense. The sickly looking, the corpse-ish kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hades wasn't like a skeleton, but yeah, I mean, you just spend all your time underground, man. You're not gonna be glow. You know, you're gonna be more glowing than you are tan. So
Right.
I'm like, all right, that makes sense. And then you hit me with the rebirth stuff, and I'm like, And I'm like, well, the only thing I could say in terms of a Greek god, like a mega god, would be Dionysus.
That's right.
Because he was reborn. He did have an effeminate side and a male side. He wasn't depicted as female, but yeah, he was kind of effeminate. So
yeah, no, I hear ya.
I could see it. Now, granted, Dionysus was ruthless, or could be ruthless. Like to party, yes, but would it have taken, if you could kill a Greek god, would it have taken some mega juice to take him down? Yes. So I could say it being Dionysus in terms of the rebirth. Dionysus was, of course, super smart, but he was a party animal. Like, he literally brought life to the party. That was his thing. So that really isn't him. But yeah, there's not a lot to go off of. So it's like, oh yeah, this guy's pretty powerful. Killed, reborn.
I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not saying this applies to any Olympian god specifically, but I've often heard in history, especially like in ancient Syria, I think, there were gods that were originally worshipped as men that were eventually worshipped as women. Like, I think, I want to say Ishtar Inanna is one of them. And if the old age is like prehistory, right?
Right.
And then the modern age would be like a more contemporary time, looking backwards. Yeah, you have a god that's a woman now, but in the past age was a man. And again, maybe that doesn't fit into today's conversation, but it's just an interesting idea, I guess.
I mean, then you have like Artemis, who was flip side, girl, but you could have almost said very masculine.
Oh, okay.
Hunt, bow and arrow, got the juice. Powerful, for sure.
And you always say that, like, she doesn't. She doesn't. Does she have? I'm gonna get this wrong. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna go for it. She avenges women, or
yeah, kind of
punishes
men, and
men.
women. But yeah, men if they try to like advance on him, especially her. Even if just looking at her, no dice.
Dude, she might be Artemis. He might be Artemis. I mean, it's a, and I'm not trying to
pin one down.
No, I don't. I'm not trying to speak for how he wanted this to go as far as the author, but just how it's read. He's described as a man in this woman's body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I'm going to say it for the show. At any rate, Artemis really strikes me because when he's this the maid, the handmaid, when men are looking at him, he like disposes of them, just kills them and moves the body at first, and then eventually starts to like feel flattered, not really wanting it, but it's like, oh, if I get this attention, I'm good looking. Okay, that's cool. Like in a narcissistic kind of way,
Well, we'll say this with the Artemis aspect. So obviously she's not Zeus, but she's got a twin brother. Her twin brother's Apollo.
Oh, that's very cool.
So in terms of, I mean, Apollo was probably stronger, but
yeah.
Artemis was.
Oh, that's cool.
Artemis was a badass,
right.
But again, she was like the goddess of like the childbirth, protector of the girl, as in like young girls, like girl children.
Right.
Apollo was flip side. He wasn't like the man, but he was like protector of the boy child, like the young boys. So like between the two of them, you got protected all the children. Conversely, also together, they could bring some death and destruction, but that's together. But as you said, male to female, meld those two together. Maybe you got this particular one, but he's a meld.
Well, I like that, and then I'm going to add that also as I guess a contra position, like an opposite kind of thing going on. Mm-hmm. You said she's a protector of children.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Helima, the handmaid, was in the White Tower's camp. The little White Tower, like the
Mini
rebels.
Tower, yeah, the rebels.
Yeah. And they had a bunch of very young novices there.
Right.
So, and a lot of them, more than the White Tower even had at this time. Happens every time. Um,
and Artemis was
so
usually
so
depicted as a young maiden.
well, oh, that's really interesting. So
So
you have that going on, and you have the fact that instead of protecting children, she's putting all these children in danger. So that's kind of interesting.
well, or depends on how you
Yeah.
want to look at it. It could be kind of protecting them in her own way, ish, from a certain point of view.
Alrighty. No, that sounds good. I think we nailed that one as best as
As
we
we're
can.
going to, yeah. Well,
So
might as well bring the other one out that we don't know much about.
yes. So the other guy that we don't know much about is Agenor. He also gets nuked in the first book. Um, I get him confused with the last one we did. Ever since because I started this series very young, and sometimes when you do that, uh, things that you mess up when you're very young haunt you for the rest of your life.
Well,
Uh,
and then it's not like it's like super easy light reading either.
that's also true. So at any rate, uh, Agenor, uh, he comes out and he doesn't look like, I guess, like a corpse exactly, but he's still, let's say, is kind of he's pretty disfigured. He looks pretty gross. But and I know I'm just he's meant to look bad. I like the skin on his face was like crazed parchment drawn tight over his skull. That's a description. That's that I just read there. Like that's gross. Okay, brittle hair and stuff like this. But here's the thing. He's defeated. He's killed, and he is also reborn. But this time he's born, into a guy's body, and he is the Ozengar, which is like the right hand dagger, I believe, or the left hand. And the other guy that we just talked about was the other handed daggers. The opposite hand is what that name means. I didn't bring that up. Yeah. Ozengar is the left handed side dagger of a twin set of poison daggers. So now in his reincarnated life, he ends up being a spy. He becomes an Ashaman and Rand's armies. So what's interesting about that, Theo, is he becomes a full Ashaman. And we needed to discuss this in a video at some point, but Ashaman is literally shaman.
Yep.
So he's a very powerful magic man. So, and he's the only Forsaken, technically, someone could argue another one, but I would argue against it. He's the only Forsaken to achieve this rank of Ashaman in this reincarnated form. Now, just to throw you off, because I think this is a very interesting and important part of this, is in the Age of Legends, what did he do? He created the Shadow Spawn. So he is kind of a tinker, but of biology, I guess. So he made the Trollocs, which the words in there are meant to be a combination of orcs and trolls, I believe. So think of just a group of baddies from, mythology, gross creatures. And then you also have Draghearts, which that's supposed to be like a Dracula. Like it feeds on your soul instead of your blood. It's not really human. It's meant to look beautiful. It's kind of like a siren. It coos at you and then swallows your soul. And it can fly in the night. He also made a golem creature, which can stretch like Plastic Man into any, amount of space available. And he moves like Quicksilver, as they say. And he's immune to the one power directly anyway. And he feeds off of blood. He needs blood to keep going. So he's kind of a vampire. It's crazy. And last but not least, my favorite, the Murdral, the Shadow Man, the Eyeless, the Neverborn. They kind of move like vipers. They have no eyes. They have ash white skin. They have jet black hair. They wear scale armor that makes them look like vipers. And their cloaks never blow in the wind. So, he was experimenting at a top rate of almost 10,000 variations per day until he, got his favorites. So, yeah, that's Agenor / Ozengar. So, however you want to go with this.
Well, shucks. So I have one in mind, but I'll save that one to the end.
Go for it.
To the end, though.
Right?
So, creation.
I'm sorry. This is gonna throw you off. I
Even
don't
more?
think this is important, but I'm still gonna throw it at you. He's considered the second in strength
Come on, man.
of all the Forsaken. I know. I knew that would throw you off, but I had to say that. That doesn't necessarily mean anything here, though. So go ahead. He ain't Apollo. We know
No,
that.
I
So-
agree with that. Definitely, no. He that even that didn't get me. The power cycle, I would say like Poseidon, but it doesn't fit at all, right?
Yeah.
No, doesn't fit. You could
Yeah.
say
I mean, you could say Poseidon has control of creatures from the depths, right?
right, but not. He's not Aquaman either. It's not like it doesn't
No.
quite like that. So power side, no. So I'm gonna go through some list and say who he's not.
Okay. Yeah. Go for it.
Not Zeus.
For sure.
The creation stuff, Zeus didn't really do that kind of thing. Was he really a tinker? No, he was a blast you and ask questions later. Poseidon, no. Hades, maybe with the appearance, but other than that, not really. Hera, no, not ruthless enough, jealous and all that kind of stuff. Not really. Not a party animal, vengeful type dude. Not Dionysus. I wouldn't say Athena. Again, not really. Just doesn't fit. Not Artemis. Which is not really a hunter or huntress or anything like that, so that doesn't make sense. Ares, straight brute force. War, no. Apollo doesn't fit either. Aphrodite doesn't fit. Even if you're going down to more like kind of gods, wouldn't be Hestia. That doesn't fit. Also doesn't fit with Hercules if you count him. So those are the ones he's not. Leaves a couple left. It leaves Hephaestus. You're just saying creating things and doing that, but Hephaestus was like not people, but he created stuff. So maybe.
Right. So this would be kind of like a game of This would like follow the telephone theory, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
he
down the
started
line a
off
little
with-
bit.
He made creatures, and then later, oh, that's weird. Clearly, he must have made metal or something.
Yeah. So then you have Hermes. You say, okay, trickster, super fast, messenger, created like musical instruments. Is it that far off from weird stuffs?
Well, he did use animal parts to do it.
True. So me, kind of. But here's my trick. I think it's Prometheus.
Oh, okay.
It's like throwing it way out there. Yes, not a Greek god. Well, yes, a Greek god, but it's actually a Greek titan, which predates the
Olympians.
Predates the Olympians, although technically you could say Zeus and Hera were technically, well, actually some of the older ones, same thing with Poseidon and Hades, were technically titans. Technically. And you say, well, Prometheus, didn't he give humans fire? Yes, he did. However, out of the titans, he was the trickster. If you look at ancient Greek, his maybe a translation would be like forethought, or has like precognition of things.
Okay, right.
But he also, in certain variations, created humans out of clay. What are usually golems?
Okay.
Clay.
Clay. Oh,
And
wow.
did he get it right the first time? My guess would probably be not, because you're not, I mean, even though you're a god, it may not be perfect.
And we're talking about like the evil version of the gods here, right?
Right.
So,
We're talking about not the good side, but the bad side. And you can say,
so instead of making people, you could say he made the bad things.
Yep. And not necessarily he fed off of blood, but because Zeus was like, yeah, nah, bro, you're not gonna give them fire. It's like, but they need to survive, man. My creatures, man. They're my creations. No fire, man. What'd he do? Gave him fire anyway. So what did Zeus do? Chained him up for all eternity to get pecked out by birds, specifically eagles. And every day he was eaten. And then because he's a god and you can't kill an immortal, he was brought back to life the next day. Every day his liver would be nibbled. Every day would grow back. In an endless cycle of torment forever. So that kind of sucks. So he didn't necessarily eat the bloods, but things ate his blood, I guess.
I see. Interesting. No, I like it. I see what you're talking about, and I think it works.
And technically, later on in the story, and in certain historians, and I say that the Greek historians in terms of myth, Hercules freed him. So then he eventually did become freed.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, this guy has 2 lives, so that could be like Hercules setting him 3.
And if you're going way, way back for his story, technically-ish, you could say he was the first, or one of the first gods to do animal sacrifices.
Oh, interesting.
So
Animal
animals,
sacrifices, and then have it. Yes,
for
I
like
think the
his
strongest connection is the golem, though. Honestly, to
Yeah.
be like looking at it from a literary connection and historical connection, that's very strong. Like, most definitely. But I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
Please,
dude.
go ahead.
So, like I said, I don't think you really. This one's a weird one. Again, there's not a lot of like book time, and even in probably the TV series, I highly doubt it's maybe even going to be touched on, except in like some crazy battle thing. So, we don't have much to go on. So I'm grasping at straws. So I would say, if you're going for the 12, probably the closest would be maybe Hermes. But Hermes is a pretty boy. So most of it doesn't quite fit. But Prometheus, on the other hand, I think fits way better. But whatevs. That's my take on it.
No, I like that.
I was gonna say the only
Prometheus.
I was gonna say the only ugly god, and it's still in quotes, was Hephaestus, and that's only because of his deformity. But he was still a handsome, ripped dude. He just had a deformity.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would be like, I understand like certain versions of Doctor Doom in Marvel Comics. Some of them he's straight up mutilated his face.
Yep.
But other times he's like the world's most handsome man, but like he has like one little cut right here, and he like can't
deal
stop
with
obsessing.
it. Yeah. So they're hence the mask. Yep.
I like it. All right. Ready for the next one?
Let's try it, bro.
Okay. So let's see.
No, so we can't have that many left, bro. Like 2 or 3.
Actually, we have 4.
4. All right.
Plus,
I would say Derek hit that a little hard.
yeah, this. Oh no. Oh, energy drink.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. I had one too.
Yeah. So there actually is a 14th Forsaken, much like there's a 13th Olympian. So we'll see. All right, the next one. I have a guess,
Uh-oh.
but I'm not gonna throw it out this time.
Aw. Lay it on me, bro.
Okay, Samael.
Oh.
This guy is interesting because he's short in stature, and he's said to be kind of jealous of the height of the original dragon. And he was said to be second only to the Dragon Reborn in strategy. He is a war general strategist. Um, he sits back and lets events roll and basically causes nations to build up armies. And then when things are ready to hit the fan, he's ready to go. And then he mops up basically. Um, he has a scar that he got from the original dragon in I think their one battle where he lost but obviously lived, and he kept that scar as a reminder. He could have had it removed or healed or whatever, but he wanted to remember like that's the one guy that could beat him. So um, he sets up camp. This is what you'll like, I think, interestingly. They have him set up camp in the nation of Ilion, which is definitely Robert Jordan's like Italy/Greece. They farm olives and olive oil in this country. So, yeah, he has that army. And as many great stories go, the great army that you see built up is entirely circumvented, right? So he doesn't even really get to use it. He goes out like a complete punk into the night off page. He presumably is swallowed by the mist in that Shadow Lagoth town, that the shadowy mist that comes out at night. So, yeah. So that's Samael.
I remember reading that when I was hilarious. I was like, oh, I have a feeling. So I'm going to lay 3 on you.
Go for it.
And the last one is going to be the one that I think it is.
All right.
If you're talking in terms of strength, power, like beat down, Hercules, right?
I like that.
Zeus, number 1, in terms of like actual strength. I would say Herc would be probably number 2. Son of Zeus, makes sense, right? The other ones I'm not saying are super weak, but Hercules is the man. But the thing about Hercules is he a strategist? Not really.
No, I think Hercules, I'm going to say,
he's the battering ram.
I think Hercules is on this list still.
Yeah. He's the battering ram. So, nah. Athena. Super strategist. Probably out of everybody we're going to talk about in terms of intellect, there is second to none. She is the shit. She's probably smarter than Zeus. Strength-wise, probably not. But battle, heck yeah. Battle strategist, off the chart. Wicked in the terms of you screw with me, you're dead. Absolutely. Covertly aggressive. Absolutely. However, would she go charging into the night to die like a punk? Hell no. Absolutely not. She'd be too smart for that. She'd say, no, we're going to wait till the daytime. So no. Now the one who I think it is, who I always thought it was anyway, Ares.
Here we go. That's my man. I knew it. I got one.
Yep. So I figured that one. Is he headstrong? Absolutely. Does he... It's funny. He is the god of war, right? So you think he's Kratos, god of war. Nah, man. Actually, Kratos is probably a better god of war than Ares. In terms of, like, battle. So, yes. Was he a warfare general? Sure. Was he a strategist, though? Nah, he was kind of stupid when it came to that stuff because he figured his brute force would be able to do it. Would he build up armies and do the thing and be like, yeah, go to war, I'm going to sit back and chill? Yes. So, would he be the one to say, I'm going to get that dragon, god dang it, because he beat me that one time 15 bajillion years ago? Yes! Because he was also very arrogant in his own, like, mind. Would he be the one to be like, oh, I'm going to go now? Absolutely. Would he run into the darkness because, hey, man, I'm the god of war. I'm cool. I can do this. Yes. Would he then also get in trouble? Yes. Again, they're immortal. the Forsaken are not immortal-ish. But yeah, no, I think this one's a hands down super powerful. Absolutely, is Ares one of the strongest? Absolutely, in terms of physical, yes. Does he show it a lot? Nah, not necessarily. Is his influence huge? Yes, because you fed on that. Man, you gotta go battle this person. You're right. Gotta get this whole war thing going, man. Yes, he would have the gift of like in your ear, knock it out, let them do the work, and then mop up the floor, sure. And then he would take that, I wouldn't say he would absorb that power, but that was kind of his thing. So, yeah, he'd be headstrong enough to do the stupid stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. Beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself if I had known all that stuff. So I love it. I don't think there's anything else to say about that.
No, I think that was like a...
MIL is Aries.
Yeah, I think that's a... Yeah, I don't think so, yes.
All right, so here we go. The next one on our list, this guy does a lot, but mostly off panel. So this is Demandred. He's considered to be like tall and good looking, and he basically is super jealous of Rand. Like he's basically anti-Randall Thor. Not like he's as strong as him, because he's not. He is very strong, but he's not even the strongest Forsaken of the Forsaken. So not really his thing. So why does he think he's the best? Well, he thinks he should lead the Forsaken even. So he thinks like even at that level, he should be in charge of that group that he's an elite member of, right? So what else do we know about him? He has a very good or a very bad sense of humor. He doesn't like smile. He doesn't think anything's funny. He doesn't like really joke. He does everything for his own ends. Like this is the kind of guy that would like marry a woman, have children, start a family, whatever, and she'd think she was totally into him, and then when the day came, he'd just murder his family and then peace out. Like if that's what he had to do. Like, oh, that's what I have to do? Okay. So he's ruthless, like with a capital R. He fulfills like I want to say like an anti-dragon prophecy and becomes something called Baal the Wild, which basically is like kind of like this symbol like that he's like the leader of this tribe. So it's again not really a symbol of strength. Again, it's more like a symbol of honor, I guess, even though you'd have to be like crazy strong to do what he did to get it. Which he had to fight a ginormous underground worm with multiple grappling heads and all this nonsense. He had to do that with just his sword. He couldn't use the power. So he comes out swinging at the end of the book with the second strongest sangreal ever made for a man, and he almost destroys the pattern by using way too much balefire. Like things like mountains and rivers are starting to flicker. Like in reality, things got really bad. So he meets his demise, and this is, I think, a very important part of his story. He's calling out for Rand to fight Rand. No one else can beat him. No one can beat me. Send your champions. Bam, Galad goes down. Bam, Gawain goes down. In the other order, my bad. These are like two of the best blade masters in the series. And then Lan comes up, and Lan just walks right up and just cuts the guy's head off. And it's very much that like kind of like, how did you know you were going to survive? I didn't know I was going to survive. I just knew I was going to win. You know, that kind of crap. It's not written that way, but that's like the vibe, you know? So that's how he goes out. He doesn't even get to face his adversary. Like, so he gets punked in a way, not quite like Samael did. And he is So I guess what I'm trying to say here, just to paint his picture accurately, is he's incredibly arrogant. So, without further ado, what do you think? And unless you want to say narcissist, I want to hear what you have to say.
You're gonna laugh.
Okay,
'Cause I'm gonna throw it out left field here, man.
go for it.
It's one of two,
Yeah.
and probably not the two that you're thinking of.
I want to hear it.
So we know that Zeus is number one, right?
Oh, for sure.
There's a couple right behind him. Now, like I said, I think Apollo is like actually number two. But in terms of who the gods would think would be number two, and
Oh.
potentially number three,
Hmm.
would be some bros of Zeus, which would be
Okay.
Hades and Poseidon.
Okay.
So
I think I see where this is going.
Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades, when they were first like out of the stomach of their dad. I
Yep.
mean, Zeus was never in there, but the other two were. They're
Mm.
like, well, we gotta split up Uranus's powers, bro. He was like god of all the stuffs. So now he's dead. We gotta like draw some straws. Let's see who gets what. So originally they were all like blank slates. This is in quotes, of course. Zeus, bam, got the heavens, thunder, lightning, if you want to call them like that, sky. Poseidon, the sea. And then you have Hades, which is down below.
Mm.
So you're like, well, okay. So if you were thinking of it, who would you think got the short end of the stick?
It depends, but I would say either Hades or Poseidon.
Right. So I would say Hades.
I'd say not Zeus, though.
No, Zeus, legit. Technically, I would say even Poseidon pretty legit, because technically the sea and solid earth, along with Gaia and all that stuff. So he was actually pretty solidly kind of happy in his thing, right?
Okay.
Hades, not so much.
I see.
He was basically alone. He couldn't sit on Olympus because, hey, man, you got to protect those souls from coming back up north, so to speak.
Mm.
Yes, he technically was the god of wealth because everything under the ground was his. But, sounds really sad, but he was super lonely, man. Like, he literally had nobody. Who wanted to go down to the underworld? Nobody.
Oh, wow.
So he didn't really get to chill with anybody. He didn't have, like, friends, per se. Sure, he had folks, we'll say, that trysts. But not really. So you say he'd be kind of ruthless. Well, how much more ruthless would you be than to kidnap Persephone? Trick her into eating something down below, which therefore became his,
Mm.
causing feast and famine because her mom Demeter's like, you're a son of a bitch, and I can't find her. Where'd she go? So they had to strike a deal, hence why we got the seasons, so to speak. That's his fault. Why? Because he was kind of jealous and kind of a jerk, too. Now, yes, he was lonely and sad, but you said, oh, wait, he had a multi-headed beast, right?
Mm.
Well, what's Cerberus? Multi-headed dog.
I got you. Well, he had to kill this beast.
Well, I had to
but
kill him, but whatever.
Same. No, no, I'm
Kinda
not
the
arguing
same.
your point. Yeah, no, I'm not arguing your point. No.
So, but on the flip side, who was hella powerful? If you think about it, if you're king of the underworld, the dead, the rich, like everything underneath, you have Persephone, who's daughter of the harvest goddess. You could potentially be one of the most powerful gods ever. Because if you really wanted an army, you could just release all the folks, right?
Right.
He didn't.
Now, I will have to lean in a little bit,
Yeah.
and but I thought you were going to say Poseidon,
Ah.
and the reason why I say this is because Poseidon also has an army, but
Mhm.
not from the underworld,
Mhm.
right? And when Demandred becomes Bayo the Wild, he gets like this suit of armor, and his sangreal is kind of like a scepter. I think it's golden, even. I think it might be white, but at any rate, um, he has an army, including an army of channelers, like a huge army. Like he has one of the major armies on the field in the last battle, in fact. Uh, so, and when he's channeling all that balefire, it was making me think of earthquakes, and Poseidon
True, he's the god
also
of earthquakes.
earthquakes, and so yeah, just a thought. That's just me thinking about it. I don't see Poseidon really going on any quests, and it does make sense to me. Like, not that Hades necessarily would go on quests, but he collects things.
Right.
So that kind of fits there. But also, I would even say, not because he's so strong, but he kind of fits Hercules a little bit, because he did the labors
Right.
to become, and it wasn't just this worm. That was like the last thing he had to do,
Right.
was kill that worm, and that worm kind of harkens back to like a
Hydra.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I'm glad you had that same thought, but mostly you see kind of Hades here.
I
is what
think
it
so,
sounds.
because the thing is, like, Hera was jealous of Hercules. Hercules
Mhm.
wasn't a jealous dude. So
Right, right.
so his trials were based upon him killing his family due to Hera tricking him.
Right, right.
So
No, I see that.
if you're talking about like a jealous, I would say vengeful guy, that really wouldn't be Hercules per se.
Right.
So while the labors would be, while you hear labors, you hear Hercules. That being said, if we're not going tit for tat, it would fit. Because again, if we're talking about strength, like pure brawn, Herc's up there. Would he be kind of... He is not as arrogant as like an Ares type, but would he be kind of arrogant to be... If you're talking about like the flip side of the bad side of the gods, would he be like, come get it? Sure. Would he want to test his mettle against the best? Sure. So I could see it. I could see it.
Got it. Perfect. Anything else you want to add before I throw the next one at you?
Nah, throw it, bro. Throw it.
All right, here we go. So, the next guy is Ravine, or Ravin. So, this dude is the second strongest Forsaken. He is very, very powerful. What's interesting about this guy is he is considered like Mr. Super Good Looking, okay? And women fawn over him, and like the only character, they basically say that he's as good looking as Galad is, and Galad's supposed to be like the
most
like,
handsome dude in the world
most
kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, like young Chris Hemsworth or whoever, whoever. That's him. He conquers the throne of Andor by pretty much just seducing the queen, and then eroding the laws away to allow a king to eventually take the throne, which I don't know if he quite gets that far. He rules in all but name. I don't know if he quite makes it to being king before his demise. But he's considered to be bulky and muscular and even taller than Rand al'Thor. So he's a beast.
Brute. Yep.
A brute. And yeah. And the last interesting thing I'm going to throw at you, well, actually, no, I just want to double check.
Get
Yeah,
them facts.
the last thing I want to throw at you is that the throne of Andor that he conquers is the Golden Lion throne. So, what do you think?
Man, all right. This one's difficult because there's not a lot on him.
Right.
but crazy strong,
Mm-hmm.
hulking,
Mm.
golden lion throne.
Right.
I think that's Hercules.
Nice. I like it.
So yeah, it's
Hercules is a womanizer too, right?
yeah, not
When he's not married.
right, and some of that's trickeration, Harris
Mm.
tricks, but he got around a little bit. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
But I mean, not in a Greek god way, because handsome, huge, hulking individual, big, like pure muscle. Uh, the conniving part, that's the only thing that's like doesn't quite fit, because Herc's not really a conniver. But in terms of everything else, was he handsome? Sure. Was he huge? Yes. Was he like ripped and like muscular, tall, all that stuff? Absolutely. Would I
Well,
put him as like
also,
the most beautiful dude in the world? Nah, that'd be like Apollo. But
but no,
close
right.
enough.
But also, if if you look at how the other Forsaken operate, like you don't know Samael is controlling Ilian. He's like behind the
Behind closed,
council.
yeah, behind the
There's
scenes.
like there's like nine people he's controlling behind,
Right.
and you don't know. Uh, Similarly for the other ones, you don't know that Semirage is with the Xianchen.
Yep.
She's not. She doesn't just like kick over the throne and say worship me. She's
Right.
hiding. Uh, so in the as far as Wheel of Time goes, as far as like Wheel of Time baseline IQ goes, this guy is an idiot. He brute force busts his way into the door and is like, I'm just gonna sit on this throne in front of everybody.
True. So I guess that would be
Um,
Hercules status.
yeah,
Yeah.
and his
True.
his
True.
dis- his alias is Gabriel. So biblically, Gabriel is like the voice of God. So that doesn't necessarily apply to this. There could be some other context that we'll have to explore later. But um, before we move on, I'll say I really like him as Hercules. Thinking of the that golden
Yeah, the
lion,
lion.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
But do you have any other alternatives, or is he is he a pretty good fit here
I
for
think
what
he's
we
a
have?
pretty good fit. I mean, you could make
Mm,
a case for Poseidon, I would think, but
mm,
I think that Hercules is probably a better fit,
mm.
or the best fit, at least for me.
Right. Unless so, the other option would be he's like an anti Hades. Instead of underground, he's in the open. He has
Right.
Persephone and all of that. But that's more of a stretch.
Yeah, I would think so.
All right. No, no, good. Sounds good. So moving on, we're getting close to the end
Yeah, I would
here.
say two left.
So this one is going to be tricky.
Ah,
If if at first glance and knowing what you know about this character, you could come up with an easy conclusion, and that's fine. So let's see what you do. Um, don't worry, audience. What I said, you won't be able to guess which direction he's going in. So it's our big dog.
big
In
dog.
the last age, he was Ishmael, betrayer of hope, and he becomes Baalzamon in the current age, which is the Heart of Dark, or Heart of Shadow, Heart of Darkness, I think. And as Baalzamon, he takes on this form of having his mouth and eyes become flames whenever they're open, and he hides kind of behind this. Um, it kind of hides his appearance in a weird, eerie way. Um, and where do you always see him? You see him when you're already sleeping in the world of dreams, which is really creepy. And he's always sitting in some chair trying to make some deal with you, like, do this and you will live forever and everything will be great. All that kind of stuff. Um, Eventually, you realize he's mad powerful when he goes to fight Rand. He always seems to be very strong. Um, he ultimately meets his demise, and to me, it's kind of a anti-biblical call out when he's about to die. He's calling out to the Dark One. He's like, "I need more power." He's like, "Why have you abandoned me? You know, in my moment of need, so to speak. Why have you forsaken me, Father, Father?" You know, that kind of stuff. And then that's when Rand is able to overpower him and just nuke him. So uh, during like a moment of doubt, I guess. So now where it gets even more complicated, he's the head of the Forsaken. So you assume he's the most powerful there. When he comes back, um, he is now Moradin, which in the Wheel of Time series literally means death. And another complication, yeah, arguably I'd say he's still like the most powerful channeler there is. I mean, maybe Rand, but he no longer channels the one power. He's only channeling the true power exclusively. So can you even say he's a quote Olympian at that point? I don't know. It's hard to say. Or you could maybe you'd flip it on me and be like, well, that makes him even more of a true Olympian because. So I'll throw it back to you.
Man, yes. Complications.
Complicated.
So I'm gonna lead you on one direction, and I'm gonna flip it on you, right?
Yeah.
So I know I think I know who this is.
Go ahead.
Could say Poseidon.
Oh, interesting.
One of the most powerful ever.
Mm.
But it's not. You could say Hades. Again, also one of the most dang powerful. Hell, his name means death, right? Hades, death. That kind of makes sense. I just got through saying, well, heck, he could have been one of the most powerful gods.
Mm-hmm.
But had to bow down to somebody. Who did he bow down to? Who I think he is. Who, the first time I read the stories, who I thought he was originally, even as Balzaman, and even more so when he became Moradin, Zeus.
Big Daddy Zeus.
I think he's the big dog. He's got the most power. He's not necessarily the most ripped, because I would say that would almost be Ares or Hercules, to be honest. But in terms of pure power, in terms of pure one power, I would say Zeus, man. Like, he could just beat that ass in any way he could. Reborn, you could say he almost transcended into a even higher form, as he's now channeling direct. If you have the direct tap,
Interesting. Yeah. I see what you mean.
But instead of the light, it's the dark. So I think it
It's
would be
the
like Dark Zeus,
like an opposite kind of.
Yeah, it's like I can't remember the dang movie, but it's like the evil Superman as a kid, like killing everybody instead of being the good guy. So I would see him as that. And if you're like, oh, in his moment of darkness when he's like calling out to his pops,
right?
Well, who would be Zeus's pops, man? The original Titan, right?
Yeah.
Who would have transcended all of this stuff into power? So, and who you could almost say if the Titans weren't demised or disposed of or whatever, we already compared the Dark One to what?
The creator.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, who created Zeus?
Right. Okay, so he's like calling out to like the source of creation, kind of.
Yes. And then as he's reborn, yes, Zeus was never like reborn in that fashion, because he was not eaten and then expelled out. He was hidden away, but that's neither here nor there. So I think Balzaman, Moradin, Zeus. That's the big guy. He's the leader of the pack, and he is technically the leader of the pack anyway. And if people wanted to screw with him a little bit. He just give him a right. Didn't he just like basically give him a look and be like, "You really want to do that, bro?" And they're like, "No." And they all back down.
Well, I really like your answer. I would give it like it would get an A, but
But
not an A plus.
uh-oh.
As Columbo would say, just one more thing. So, didn't you say that Zeus was the head honcho top dog,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, as it turns out, Balsamon was the head honcho top dog,
Mm-hmm.
channeler, power.
Right.
I think when he died, he no longer was Zeus. I think as Moradin, he is something else. And as Moradin, I think he is Hades. And the reason why I think that is, well, he would want to make that move because if the world is coming to an end, Hades is going to be more powerful than Zeus finally. Like in that
Mm-hmm.
regard, because there are no people to, you know what I mean? Like
True.
no living people. So, and I have another evidence for that, but I can't it's indirect evidence, but I can't say that until we get through our surprise guy, which is probably some kind of combination again of stuff.
Okay.
But this is an interesting one. This is none other than Mazrim Taim, or Mazrim Taim, or however you say his name. He starts off apparently a good guy. He runs the Black Tower, aka the man's version of the White Tower, aka the man's version of Mount Olympus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he refuses when Rand tries to promote him to full-blown Ashaman, to be like, this is how we do things. When you get the sword, you're dedicated. When you get the dragon, you're a full-blown Ashaman. As soon as Rand left, he like threw the pins away and melted them. So he's basically like, you have no power over me. Like, I don't know who you think you are. So the interesting thing is, he is the only character in the book to be ascended to the level of chosen. And I don't mean the only one we know of. I mean, literally, they say, oh, no one in this age has been raised to chosen except this guy. It's the only one. And at that point, he takes on the name Mihail, which basically means like teacher, but not like math teacher, more like what you think of like dojo teacher, like sensei, like instructor, like drill sergeant. So what's interesting is, he ascends, but here's the monkey wrench. He ascends around the same time that Balsamon, like after Balsamon is got out of the picture, okay? And Mazrim sounds very similar to this Hebrew word, Mizram, which, as it turns out, is basically a word that can mean both Egypt or Osiris, aka Zeus in the Egyptian pantheon, depending on what era you're looking at. So basically, Mazrim Taim, I believe, becomes Zeus at some point in the story, after being, kind of pretending to be one of these Ashaman. And he's said to be almost as strong as Rand in the power, which is insane, because at the time, Rand was channeling through an Angreal. So we really have no idea how strong Mazrim Taim really is. He's insanely strong. And he becomes the only other channeler besides Demadrid to hold that Sagril that's super, super strong, only second to the one that Rand has. So, where do you peg this guy? Could he be an amalgamation of a couple or a few? What do you say?
Ooh, yeah, you did throw me for a loop. I had a feeling that was gonna.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that's who you're gonna bring as the surprise guest.
Yep.
And I've been thinking about it because I was like, man, if he throws that one down, who's it gonna be?
Right.
So I could see you saying how Balsamon was Zeus.
Right.
Then once he gets killed,
Yep.
reborn into Moradin, transcends into somebody else
Right.
because it's not quite the same. In fact, you almost say he's more powerful in a different way,
Right.
but different.
But different.
So I could understand your mode of thought about Zeus. Then he gets killed, and then it becomes Hades.
Mm-hmm.
Because if everything is gone, there's nothing left.
Right.
So that would make sense. And then if it's around the same time as Ish, give or take.
Or I'm gonna say before.
Yeah.
So maybe yeah.
But someone's got to take the place of, right? You just can't have a vacuum.
Right.
Usually.
That's what I was thinking. That's
So
what I was thinking.
if Azram Tame ascends, as you say, to a higher level, if Zeus is gone, who's going to be Zeus, right?
Right.
And if he's almost as powerful as Rand, if not more powerful, potentially.
Right.
Potentially. The ceiling may be higher.
Right.
That would be someone like a Zeus type figure.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of like dojo teacher, wouldn't be Zeus. Really wouldn't be really anybody except for maybe Athena or Apollo, which would make sense because the two of them. Because yeah, when I was reading that, like, man, this guy's a badass son of a bitch.
Oh yeah.
Like, he doesn't care. He's cold, ruthless.
He's cold. Mm-hmm.
Ruthless. Crazy powerful. Doing stuff that other people just are like, what? How the hell did you do that? He's like, I just did it.
Yeah.
Like,
he,
almost teaching himself how to do stuff, which is odd. Because it doesn't really go bad either.
Well,
if I remember right.
That's how it. You see, we don't know
We don't
where
know
he learned this stuff, and
True.
he probably learned it from other Forsaken. But yeah, from our point of view, he really knows how to do a lot of things. Like, for example, he knows how to determine if a man can learn how to channel.
Mm-hmm.
Not even if they can channel, but if they even can learn, like that level of basic. And he can definitely tell if another man can channel, and he knows how to determine how powerful another man is by that's what he did with Rand.
It's like the Fates, bro.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's almost like the Fates rolled into him. A little precognition. You could put as an oracle. You could say that's Apollo.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, oh yeah, that is kind of like an oracle. To you will channel one day. I get what you're saying. I never thought of it that way. That's really cool. All right.
I mean, Apollo would be a teacher too, also psycho strong. And technically, if Zeus goes down, who'd be the next one to step up? I already said Apollo's probably number 2 anyway.
That makes
in
a lot
terms
of
of
sense.
mega strength.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about evil side Apollo.
Well, and so Mahail, if you look at it as a Hebrew biblical connection, that'd be Michael.
Right, Michael.
That's the battle angel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, that would be like Apollo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was going to get to that. So I'm glad you and I were thinking on the same page on the warrior aspect.
So he could be like an Apollo that ascends to Zeus.
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
That's what I'm thinking. Which would make sense if he did it that way. So he wouldn't necessarily be Zeus. He would still be Apollo, just at a higher level. Rank of 9.5, level up to 10.
Right. It's like when Patroclus donned Achilles' armor.
Exactly.
Suddenly
it's
he's
still
Achilles.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, he still gets killed. But
right.
people are like, that's kind of weird. But yeah. But I could see that. I could definitely see where Balsamon would have been the Zeus dude, and then that guy transcends into something totally different into Moradin.
Right.
Because Moradin's like if Zeus is a 12, Moradin's like a 20.
Right.
Just
Right.
I mean, you're only if you're now not doing just the male side, you're doing like the whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
You're not even on the same. You're not even on the same page. You're not in the same like realm even.
Because you're saying like it, like he can tap into the very fabric of reality, basically. At
Right.
the very building. Yeah.
So he would almost be right under, maybe even the Dark One.
Right, but it's almost like at that point he's so strong. He's almost like chaos.
Right.
Where he can't even really do anything with his power
because it's
just
too off the chart.
Yeah. So it's like, and then when you'd ask Chaos like, well, why don't you do anything with your power? And he'd be
what am I going to do
confused.
with it? And he's like, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah. Like that. He'd be like, that question doesn't even make sense.
Right. Yeah, it's like asking Galactus, why do you eat a whole planet? Because I can.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's really cool. And at that point, it is true that the only thing that Moradin desires is literally nothing.
Right.
To like bring about nothingness.
Because he's tired of being this reborn over and over and over and over, never-ending cycle.
And I also have a theory about that that's really ruthless. That we'll bring up another. We'll bring up another time. But I'll share it with you off of the stream, so that you can remind me of it. I'm gonna make a note of it. I forgot last time too. But I have a theory about that. Why he wants to end it all. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. I hope everyone got to learn a little bit about the Forsaken and a little bit about the Greek Olympians.
Hope so too.
So please like and subscribe. We are the Heels of Time.
And until next time, bye-bye, y'all.
Oh, and please catch us on Twitch this coming Thursday for some video games. We're going to play some Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah.
I think we might be able to finish it off. We're really close to the end.
We think we are.
Okay.
Yeah, you never know. All right, y'all. Bye.